You know what's very interesting is that I just don't know what the fuck to say. Because anytime when I create like a podcast episode, I pretty much freestyle what I need to say. I feel so drained. I feel so tired because before I even want to get into this episode, I just want to say that I did created this podcast because there's just a lot of things that I need that needs to be said. There's just things that needs to be discussed more. There's things that needs to sink in your fucking mind because it seems as though that you live in this world that nothing affects you. Here's the thing. You can live that world that nothing affects you, but there are things that actually affect Black women that they have to go through every day. And that's what I want to say. But anyways, welcome back to Her Take. I'm your host, Laila, and today we are getting into something that I have been sitting in for a while. Something that every Black woman who has ever had to work in a space that was not built for her. And it's not going to be a surface level conversation. It's going to be a very deep conversation that we're going to have. But I do want to talk about it because what I call is the grace tax. So let's talk about that because Invisible told that Black women pay every single fucking day just to exist in spaces that, never was designed to protect them in the first place, to keep them comfortable or to even fully be seen as a human being. I created Her Take because I just needed to say the fuck what I said, to be unfiltered, to be blunt, and just tell it the fuck how it is. Maybe that's my Aquarius moon speaking, but who knows? But I'm just really tired of Black women being quiet, being gracious, being professional, and being grateful all above. Do not make anyone uncomfortable. Today we're fucking done. We're not gonna make you feel comfortable. We're gonna make you feel uncomfortable. That's what the fuck we're gonna do. But anyways, let's get into it. There's something that happens when a Black woman walks into a professional space or she has to like code switch and then she has to flip flop. Not because she wants to do it, but because it's a survival mode. Because if you think about it, when we're going into certain spaces, such as a workplace, or we're going to the grocery store, or we're going out, we have to be on our best behavior. We have to filter what we said. We have to think what we said before we speak. We can't even crush out like a fucking white woman because they get so much grace and they get some sympathy. Oh, poor Becky, she crashed out. Did you had a bad day? Yeah. Or if you have somebody like, let's just give her name, Keisha. Why did Keisha crash out? Damn, you're such an angry Black woman. Like, you need to calm down. You're being too aggressive. I'm just giving like two different examples. I feel as though that like when you learn quickly that you cannot be your full authentic self, you can't even be yourself. You cannot be too loud, too opinionated, too emotional, too direct, because the moment you are any of those things, aggressive, difficult, and unprofessional is a problem for them. So you have to perform. You have to code switch. You measure every word before it leaves your mouth. You smile when you do not feel like smiling. You soften your feedback that should be said plainly. You laugh at jokes and that are not funny. And you make yourself smaller so that the room feels more comfortable. Why is that? And then you go home and you excel and you finally get to be yourself again. I feel for me, I am myself in my safe space in my home. Here's the thing, when I go out the doors, if I go to the grocery store, I'm going to be my authentic self because I'm going to say the fuck what I say. But as soon as I get to work, I have to put on my professional hat. I have to put in my professional voice. And when you have meetings about protocols, systems, and you have your opinions, people look at you like, oh my God, she's complaining. Oh my God, not another Black woman who's complaining about X, Y, and Z. And it's a daily performance and it's very exhausting every day because the way people who have never had to do it generally cannot understand. And you know who the fuck I'm talking about. And it's not just physical tiredness, it is deep bone level depletion that comes from spending 8 hours a day being someone you're not just to be tolerated in the space you have every right to occupy. I have lived this all my life, and I know most of you are listening have too. But I do want to redirect this conversation to my audience. How many times have you filtered yourself at work this week? How many times have you swallowed something you actually wanted to say? Let's get into the aggression label. Here is one of the most exhausting parts of being a Black woman in the professional space: the aggression label. You speak your mind, you're fucking aggressive. You advocate for yourself. You are difficult. You push back on something unfair and you have an attitude. You simply express that you are frustrated. Suddenly you are the problem and that needs to be managed. But here's what nobody wants to say out loud. The same behavior that gets Black women labeled aggressive gets a white woman labeled passionate, gets her labeled assertive, gets her seen as someone who cares deeply about her work. The same energy, but two completely responses. Why is that? And the cruelest part is Black women know this. We know every time when we open our mouths in a meeting or every time we send an email and read it back 3 times to make sure it's not sound too harsh. Every fucking time we have a legitimate complaint and wonder whether raising it is worth a political cost. We are doing the math that other people never have to do. Is this worth it? Will this make me look difficult? These are the questions we ask ourselves. Will they use this against me? How do I say this true thing without it costing me something? The math is grace tax, and we pay it every fucking day. That's what it is. I do have a question for you, Black woman. Have you ever held back something true necessarily because you were afraid of how it would be received? How did that feel? We're going to talk about the double standard. Let's get into it. Now, let's talk about that thing that nobody wants to say. White women can crash out. White women, they can cry at work and be comfort. They can be hostile and be excused. They can be unprofessional and be forgiven. They can also complain loudly and be learned. They can have a fucking bad day and show it invisibly, and somehow it is relatable and human. Now, with a Black woman, if we have a bad day, it shows and it suddenly has an attitude problem. A white woman raises her voice, it is passion. When a Black woman raises her voice, it is aggression. A white woman cries and people rush to console her. And as soon as a Black woman shows any emotion, people back away and report it. I'm not saying white women do not face challenges, which the fuck y'all do. That is a separate conversation. What I'm saying is that there is documented, consistent, and undeniable double standard in how Black women's emotions, behavior are perceived and respond in professional settings. And we are expected to absorb that double standard with grace, with professionalism, with a smile, while also doing our jobs at a higher standard than most, while also managing everyone's comfort, while also representing our entire community, while also being grateful for the opportunity to be there. That is a grace tax, and it is real and it is heavy. It needs to be named. And I just want to add that I have gone through this all my life where I work in a workplace setting, and you get to see POC people such as South Asians, East Asians, and white women. They can cry, they can vent, and they get comfort. But as soon as a Black woman who's vulnerable, who's crying, she don't get no support. She's left out in the dust. And I really urge Black women, this really affects our mental health a lot. That's the reason why I'm in the process to get therapy, because I'm grateful where I'm working, but there's some times that I really need to take a step back and just yell into the pillow. Because that's a lie. Because as soon as you step outside your door, you have to put on a different mask. And this different mask has to make them comfortable. Why do I need to make you fucking comfortable when I feel uncomfortable and walking on eggshells every time I walk out that door? Because I'm going to be really honest with you. I used to be like that, where I had to walk on eggshells. I had to watch my piece. I had to watch what I say and watch what I do. But the more that I got older, the more I realized that no matter what I say and do, it's not going to be satisfied for them. And I just don't really give two fucks, because my mood is Malcolm X and my attitude is depending who it is each day. But I'm not here to please you. I can be professional and cordial, but I'm going to be my authentic self. I'm not going to shrink myself from anybody, because I'm always going to be the main character in my fucking life. I refuse to let you make me feel uncomfortable because my presence is too strong. That is your projection and your insecurities of yourself that you're trying to project on me. And we're not doing that today. But I do want to ask my viewers, have you ever watched someone else behave in a way that you have been penalized for? And how did that land for you? Why Her Take exists? Well, this is why I created Her Take. Not because I wanted to be famous, because I don't really care about fame. I just don't really care about being in the screen and ooh la la. No. Not because I thought I had something more important to say than anyone else. It's just because I was tired. I was tired of filtering, tired of performing, tired of measuring every word. The reason why I created Her Take, because it was just a space for me to speak my mind. It was a space where I can just be myself. And after getting my chart read twice, I think one of the things that Glow was telling me, that my North Node, which is my Gemini, especially my Mercury in Capricorn, and my Gemini and North Node, those two tend to tie together because Mercury is how you communicate. North Node, I believe, I don't remember, but she said something with Gemini is that when I was asking her questions, like, what, based on my chart, where do you see me succeeding? What should I be doing? She says one of the things that you should do is broadcasting media, broadcaster, um, travel influencer, because you tend to like not have surface conversations. You tend to connect with people in the community of what you have to say to speak on their stories. That's the reason why I created Her Take, because I feel that is my true calling. And whenever I say something, people tend to pause and they take in what I have to say. And that's something that a lot of people don't have. Because I've been in spaces where I have a conversation or where I say something pertaining to a topic, and people just pause and reflect. I'm like, why do y'all pause and reflect? So one of my online friends told me that the reason why they do that, because like, Laila, you say things that people don't usually say, and you pretty much drop the mic and they just take what you said because it's really that powerful. Most likely, Her Take is my couch. It's my space. It's my voice. It's uncensored and unapologetic. I created for, every Black woman who has ever sat in a meeting and swallowed something true, who has ever typed an email and deleted the honest version and replaced it with a safe version, who has ever come home after, a long day being someone else and finally breathe out in the privacy of their own space. This is why I say this again. Like, I do not like the term, oh, you're invited to the cookout. Why are we fucking inviting people into our Black spaces? I like to be in a space like full of Black people who are going through the same thing as me, who can relate to the same thing as me. Why am I going to talk to a non-Black person about what I'm going through? I just rather talk to a Black woman, to be honest. Another thing I want to say is that you deserve somewhere to be fully yourself, where your anger is valid, where your experience is not, invalid. Your frustration is valid. Or what's that word? Your exhaustion, your tiredness, exhausted is valid. Your joy is valid. Your vulnerability is valid. All of this is valid, and none of it requires anybody else's approval, because it exists. And the world will tell you to be quieter and softer and more grateful and more gracious. Her Take says the fucking opposite. We say with our fucking chats, we live in our fucking truth. And we do not apologize taking up space. We say the fuck what we say. And that's what I say. But the grace tax is real. And until the systems that created changes, and they are slow to change, Black women are going to keep paying in professional spaces and social spaces and every space that was not designed with us in mind. But here is what I want to leave you with today. The grace you give the world does not have to come at cost of the grace you give yourself. You can be professional without being silent. You can be composed without being invisible. You can navigate spaces that were not built for you without losing yourself in the process. Know your fucking worth, protect your fucking peace, and find your spaces. Your Her Take spaces where you will never have to pay that tax ever again. That is Her Take. Unbothered, unfiltered, unapologetic. I will see you next week. Peace.